Tune in on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Are you a writer, inventor? Do you have questions about your intellectual property rights? Well, tune in every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 11 o'clock for Joy on Paper. Once a month, I will have a special guest, the writer's legal eagle, Bill Larson of Larson & Larson, who can answer your questions. Protect your valuable work. Email me your questions to patsy.radio@gmail.com and then listen in every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. right here on Tampa Bay's Tan Talk Radio Network. That's patsy.radio@gmail.com.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. Moments of Clarity's mission is to educate and end the stigma on mental health through the inspirational stories of our exceptional guests. You can join in the show by calling Tiffany toll-free at 866-826-1340 or on Facebook and Twitter at MOC with Tiffany. Now, here's Tiffany Werner.
Hello, and welcome to Moments of Clarity. My name is Tiffany Werner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. Do I hear an echo, Ed?
No.
Great. I hear one. Do you?
You got about 18 microphones in there. There's going to be a little bit of an echo.
I'm hearing Ed. I'm hearing this. I'm hearing. I'll deal with it. I hear several voices all the time.
Well, you remember you're hearing one going right into your ear, then you're hearing one that's going through your laptop through the internet back to your ears.
And then I was trying to go on Facebook Live, but they changed it all up. I'll figure that out on break somewhere. I don't know. No, it's asking me to create an event instead of whatever. Can't they I used to just hit live.
We also got you on the YouTube channel for our channel up there above the TV. There it is.
Hello, everyone on YouTube at Tan Talk Radio, but I'm also on YouTube. Kirk, we're all over the place.
There you go. Not a bad thing. Hi there, Ed.
Hey. Kirk, how you doing?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Getting over a little bit of a cold, but it's weather up and down here, so kind of affects us.
Oh,
yeah.
It's getting
it was
cold
such
here.
a disappointment. I come into the studio. I haven't seen Ed for 2 years or maybe a year and a half, just to bring him a mug. Just make him put down his Dr. Phil mug.
It's good to see you back in the studio.
And he's like, no,
stop.
I'm sick. So I haven't gotten a big Ed hug.
I don't want you to have this. This is nasty.
Oh yeah, I don't want your junk.
What?
Anyway.
Drinking has nothing to do with it. That's the hard part. When you're really sick, you're sick is when you can't get drunk.
No, yeah. I said I don't want your junk.
Oh, I just said drunk. All right. My ears are clogged too. Put it on that. Yeah, my ears are clogged. And my nose is clogged. Everything's clogged right now.
I did not call you a drunk. I said I don't want your funk or your junk or whatever. I meant to say funk, I think. Anyway. So we're all together again. I wanted to have one of Moments of Clarity's favorite returning friend, and that was a post for Beyond Clarity. Favorite reoccurring guest.
Yeah, it's
for
awesome.
My debut back into the studio. It was really weird packing to come up. You get really comfortable in a different setting, even though it was, once I got in here, I realized it was so much harder doing it from home.
Yes.
When I had been doing this, just like this, sometimes 3 hours a week for 6.5 years. And then all of a sudden I got comfortable in my house. But this is all ready and set up here. I had to put all this stuff
together on your own.
Yeah, now I just have to show up and say, Ed, help.
Ed comes to the rescue. Love it.
Yes, except for today. He's like, don't catch my cold.
You just take good care of yourself, Ed. Get some rest too, some water.
She'll thank me in a couple of days when she doesn't have this and say, how did I catch this? You know.
So hi everyone from Facebook Live. I'm gonna try to figure out, like, why can't I just go?
I'm seeing
Why does it have
Melissa
to be
there.
on?
Hi everybody.
Anyway, but just trying to. It says next. Active broadcast live.
Yes, you do.
It actually, I think we are live.
Oh, there we go. So we should probably jump into the topic. I don't know. So hello.
Yeah. We got enough from my cold and her setting up.
Well, yeah, it's kind of leading me into what our topic really is making yourself uncomfortable when you're uncomfortable is what really defeats anxiety.
I love that.
And when you need to, you get in your own comfort zone, fear comes in, fear of avoidance, basically, fear of success, fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of commitment, fear of insecurity, fear of intimacy, fear. And the only thing greater than fear is hope. And when we prove to ourselves that we can do something, that's a little like small definition of hope, right? So anyway, I'd love to start off with introducing my guest, but also you're welcome to call in 866-826-1340, 866-826-1340, and then also say hi to Ed when you, and now I can see he's not just behind, he can block his camera, all he wants, but I can just see him right now. Why was I avoiding coming back in here? It's just like, I walked in and it was a breath of fresh air. It was just like home.
Oh.
Ed's like shaking his head, like, are you nuts?
It's a good topic.
Either that or he's watching the TV and he's disagreeing. So my guest today, if you don't already know him, so one of my best friends, also colleagues for a very long time. He just started his own podcast. I'll let him tell you about that as well. And he's an award nominator and winning several times, and violinist. He teaches violin to special needs kids and suffering with bipolar, ADHD, OCD, general anxiety, and so forth, including but not limited to. I think he should change your mind. Not to poke fun, but he's always saying, that he lives with a quad diagnosis. I can add to those.
Yes, I think so.
As a friend.
Just your topic alone made my skin kind of crawl a little bit. Change is not easy for, absolutely for me with OCD. And you brought up, being discomfort, putting yourself in situations that aren't as comfortable. And one thing that I've actually recently been trying to do is trying to get out and go out someplace that doesn't make me feel comfortable. And I try like once a week. And part of that,
finish introducing you.
Oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so yada yada yada. Here's Kirkpatrick Miller.
I love your topic, and it's so timely. When we're dealing with holidays, we have so many things that change on us, and I know definitely even just this last week with Thanksgiving, you have family, you have travel, you have days off, and I like a system, and I'm used to one. So when you mention that, I mean, it's a great topic, and it's not easy for everyone. I envy my dad. He just kind of just goes with life. I don't know how he does it. It's amazing. So I envy that skill. I tend to be on the other side.
Paper bag just floating in the wind.
Yes. I mean, this just happy. And somewhat the opposite of myself. So when you were mentioning, coming in to the office and and how comfortable you were at home. I know a lot of people are dealing with that as well, with more companies asking people to come back into the office and not as many people working remotely. And there's a huge problem with that right now because, as you mentioned, we get comfortable, we feel happy in our spot, and no one loves having everything kind of thrown off. And the last 2 years, I mean, COVID-19 threw the whole world off. So we're all healing together at the same time, which is vital, just to be open-minded and kind with other people. But how was the day? Did you feel less anxious as you got to the studio?
Once I sat down.
Once you sat down.
I had a chauffeur.
There you go. That's awesome.
Drive in. He dragged me.
Aw.
He's like,
that's really kind.
It was Monday, and I was like, you cannot let me say no. This has been going on for weeks, like months, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in the studio. And then it's so much easier just to, well, no, actually, I realized today it's really not much easier to not come in the studio. It's literally 10 minutes of a drive, and it's a pretty drive along the water.
Oh,
like, I used to love doing this. And then on the way back, there's this little like hole in the wall Mexican restaurant that has authentic, and they make the guacamole right in front of you, and they don't even speak English. And I would stop as a treat. It just reminded me. I remembered today, like, geez,
that's actually something that I've utilized just when I do deal with change. Is a lot of times my mind will get kind of pulled towards concern or worry, and when my anxiety peaks and my stress level goes up, of course my focus is on everything that might be wrong, might be missing, and I kind of miss out on what you just mentioned, just like looking at the beauty that we have around us, nature, and it's so easy to forget the things that we do enjoy about our work, or what we're facing. So driving in, a commute can be really fun if you have the right attitude.
Especially along the water. I put my top down on the way home. Like,
see, that'd be beautiful.
That.
It's cold here, so can't really put the top down with snow. But we haven't had as much as we need. But
it's not cold here.
Well, and actually, speaking of change, I know one thing that really, a lot of individuals that I work with, and I know you do too, deal with just the change of seasons, how that can be actually really rough on individuals as well.
You're gonna have to explain that,
or go back to school. I'm sure you know that with your young ones. So with what are some things that you suggest to people? I have some things I like to do, but I'd love to hear, when we're facing change and we're dealing with that anxiety, what are some things that you suggest to people that help?
It's a great question, and let's do that. There's a lot of things to beat anxiety, and not only that, but sometimes someone needs to light a fire under our britches.
Yeah.
8 years, and I learned another word to say besides the one that came to my mind. How about we take the break first, and we'll come back. And thanks for doing this, Kirk, because if I'm gonna jump right back in, a familiar face.
Absolutely, it's my honor. It's great to be back. So,
and thanks, Miss Jeannie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your boss that let you do it.
Yeah, pretty my second head, pretty much in some ways. So, very helpful.
She's the strongest woman I know.
Oh yeah. Scary at times, but
maybe she should call it. Anyway, we're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be back with Moments of Clarity with Tiffany in just a moment. Please stay tuned.
You're listening to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner. We welcome your input at 866-826-1340. Tiffany will be right back after this.
This is the TAN Talk Radio Network.
Hello, my name is Lucy Lopes, and I'm a real estate agent that supports ending the stigma on mental health with Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I am also passionate about helping you buy or sell your home. With times being so difficult, I'm here to help. Contact me at lucylopes.com. That's LUCYLOPES.com. Let me assist you through this pandemic and know that you are not alone.
Hi, this is Tiffany Werner, your host of Moments of Clarity. Living with a mental health disorder is not easy. If you or someone you know are struggling with this, please know it's so important to seek treatment, and I'm here to help. Please visit the website at momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com to view blog posts and resources on this site to help educate and inspire you to take action, because there's no shame in seeking help for mental health. While you're there, please take a few seconds to sign up for my email list. You'll get some extremely valuable educational and entertaining content that can be sent right to your inbox each week. Plus, you'll also get instant and free access to my guide on managing your anxiety. You can also follow me on Twitter at MOC with Tiffany and at Facebook at Tiffany Werner. And once again, the website is momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to your show, because change can only come when we stand together as one.
Are you looking for a great book? If you like to root for the underdog, Joe Potosi's book is a book for you. A real American odyssey that will grab your attention with its fast-moving narrative. You won't be able to put this masterpiece down. When the Dust Settled by Joe Potosi. Go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Zulin Press.
This is the TAN Talk Radio Network.
We are back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner. To join in the discussion, call 866-826-1340. Now, here's Tiffany Werner.
Hello and welcome back. This is Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Werner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And with me today is a good friend of mine, a podcaster, a published author, but most importantly, my guest and a good friend of mine, practically family, and an overall wonderful human being.
Oh, right back at you. It's a pleasure to be here.
And welcome back, Kirkpatrick Miller.
Thank you so much.
I am literally juggling two computers, and I still hear myself.
You're doing well, especially with ADHD. There's
I
one
need
time
a couple other arms and hands, like an octopus. That would help, or like someone sitting here helping. Anyway, okay, so we were talking about change, and I know that there's a lot of people that are, like you said, a lot of my clients are starting to work from home. And I was even talking to someone yesterday that they're saying one of them was afraid to get back into public because they had gained 100 pounds because they didn't have to get up to go to the office or exercise or anything. That's one thing. Another thing is social skills or socializing with others or lack thereof. And one of my clients is like, well, I have my dog.
Yeah.
But it's not really the same. That's how people end up with 20 cats or something.
Oh, yeah.
We need human interaction. So if I cut off my words, it feels like I'm because I'm hearing.
You're doing great. Yeah, no, the cutting off human interaction is always, and needing people in our life. And that was something that was really hard with the last couple of years because, even with family members, I know I had a dear, he was my mentor who passed away recently. And for, a couple of years, he really wasn't able to see anyone. He had really, really poor health. And because of that and his age, he was at the highest risk. And so he had, grandchildren that he wasn't able to see. That the last couple of years, as hard as they were, I know that we have some rough times ahead because everyone is adjusting. And I've noticed this with my clients, the individuals I work with privately, and then as well as just the students in general. A lot of the little ones they're more resilient than the adults by a long margin, but there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of question marks on how we're supposed to talk, how we're supposed to interact. And even with, especially with the young ones that were playing, Roblox all day long, or, and I don't know all the other different names, but regardless, whatever video game they might be on or social media site, they might be utilizing, so many of the little ones were used to it. And so now that that's gone, and they're in school for a full day, you see fatigue. A lot of them are struggling to figure out like how to make things work because they did it for 2 years. And if you're 10 years old, that's a big percentage of your life that you were inside and doing remote learning. So it's a big change for everyone.
Really hard for my one son, where COVID hit right when he was graduating 8th grade. So, freshman and sophomore year of high school, that's where you kind of get to know people, you acclimate into school, you meet new people, not just know people from your middle school where you didn't really like much of them anyway. And you have to, like, those are the people when you finally go back to school.
Yeah.
So he's having a rough time, even wanting to go to school, because you imagine it's almost like starting over in a new school, but not, because you didn't even have that first 2 years of socialization in a different school.
Absolutely.
So then not only that, the study skills and homework assignments, everything kind of changed a lot because virtual school was just a joke, in my opinion.
It was really hard. Yeah.
The little one missed play dates. Like, just was bored out of his mind. And then, so the electronics did come back more. So if you remember back in the day, we were doing live Zoom meetings with friends. They just, whoever could show up to just socialize with each other. We're going to go on Zoom, and anybody who wants to join and just to say hi and talk. If you remember, that was what.
Just to check on each other. Yeah. And it's startling how long ago that was.
All this virtual stuff.
Yeah.
I learned how to use Zoom, and then it transferred into all of this restream and all this.
The one thing that all humans do, and everyone that learns, they all build up a system that works for them. And I think that's been the toughest thing for so many going back, because and this is not just for children, this is for adults too. We got so used to functioning online and shopping online, actually having some of this stuff open. I'm seeing people and I myself, I'll go to the grocery store and I'm like confused as I walk around. That's kind of me. I'm like that anyway. But so many people just going to a normal place are not quite sure how they're supposed to act. We're kind of all getting used to it. And I see somebody, walk into a store, and then they cough and every head turns towards them, and so there's a different social dynamic now, and everyone's having to readjust. And, the hardest part is that the speed required. And, for anyone out there that is struggling with kind of changing things up, just be patient with yourself, because none of us can change instantly, especially on big things. It's hard. So, that's the one thing I would definitely say is, be gentle, baby steps, little ones,
I have the bell here.
I love your bell. Missed it. So.
Well, I had one at home too, but the bell originated here. I had to order another one.
Yeah.
Not just going back into a big setting. Let's go back to the little things too. Socialization, or picking up your room, or starting a project that you've been avoiding, transitioning into another job. wanting to get a task done, when you're feeling overwhelmed with what ifs, should haves, all these things that make you mindful of stuff rather than mindfulness. So mindfulness is taking 1 moment at a time, being in the present, focusing on one thing that we have to do. And then we can make a to-do list. I like personally using Google Docs because I can edit and then I can highlight it a different color after I accomplish it. And it gives me a sense of accomplishment. Some people are at the level where even taking a shower is something you can cross off because the avoidance, the depression, the anxiety is so global right now. And it has a lot to do with all of this change with the recession, the inflation. Everything's so much more expensive.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
life's been difficult for so many. And like you said, it's like everything.
It's scary, which is fear, and the root of anxiety. So we have to take one little baby step and force ourselves to be uncomfortable. If you're scared to go to that store and force yourself to step inside, even if it's for a little bit. And then next time, go down an aisle, get butter or whatever you need, toilet paper.
Oh, absolutely. Just even getting into a place, that you're not comfortable with, and, being there for a few minutes can help. It's, and one thing I really, for me, if I go out and I deal with something that's uncomfortable, if I just get back and I breathe a sigh of relief, and I don't kind of pat myself on the back and congratulate myself for facing something, it doesn't have as much of an impact. So it's really important that we see the positives of even little steps that we take.
We have to sit there and take a moment and congratulate ourselves for that accomplishment. So many times we finally reach that accomplishment and we're not satisfied enough. I did whatever, but it was a big deal before, but then we're there. It's not good enough. We have to do more.
And it's so hard to, especially someone who's perfectionistic and they're already going to have ramped up anxiety. I see this with, especially my youngest niece tends to be a little bit more like this, but a lot of times she won't even start a project, fear of failure, jumping into something new. And anytime there's a schedule change, she's very much like I was. And it's difficult. And definitely one thing for people that are dealing with anxiety, pay attention to how you perceive time. That was one thing that, I spoke about on a podcast a while back, but I feel pressure from time almost, every second of every day. And that is a very common issue for people when you go, oh, I have to do something at 4:00, and I worry all day long until 4:00. So same thing with a change. If you have to go into the office and you haven't been on the road for a while, dreading it doesn't help. The best thing you can do is just understand, keep, building yourself up in terms of, saying, I can do this. And then remember you're doing it when you are.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Kirk, I went to the mall and it's, I grew up here, left for college, left for a decade or whatever, came back. But this is the one mall I know. And that I've been back for like 13 years. A couple of months ago, I take the kids to the mall. I forgot my way. I had to made a wrong turn. And I was like, wait a minute. And I had to put a Google Maps to the mall. You know how many times a girl who grew up here has been in that mall? And then another time, I finally get behind the wheel. My son's like, Mom, do you remember how to drive? I'm like, yeah. And then I get on the highway, US 19, for you guys listening on the road, you know what I'm talking about. And a pebble comes from a Mack truck and cracks my windshield. It's like,
oh.
there's still a little nick on there, and I need to
those
get
are startling when that happens.
Well, it's just like, what the luck? What the luck? Luck, Ed.
Oh, well, there's, I don't think that there have been some things about the shutdown and everything changing that have helped me. In some ways, it normalized some of my strange behavior, my isopropyl alcohol all the time. Hand sanitizer was something I kind of lived with. So when everybody else was using it, it just made me feel like I fit in. So that was kind of nice. So there are some
on my desk, not to make so I'm gonna help you feel better. Is on my desk. I was doing virtual health and seeing clients from home. Someone would mention COVID, and I would hand sanitizer.
Yep.
I hadn't even left my room, the office. There's no one near me. Just the thought of it. This was in the day where we thought that we weren't able to accept packages without letting them sit outside for a day or whatever.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Besides COVID, let's get into like the little things, like forcing yourself to make yourself uncomfortable. Like for
what
instance,
are some things?
For some, I got one. Okay, so I bring this up a lot, but not everyone listens to every show. But Kirk here.
No. I know where this is going.
As this habit, I want to say, or
compulsion. Yes.
Compulsion. Okay, I was going to let you go there. Of leaving 3 emojis after every text. And I started bugging, making you feel uncomfortable. Comfortable being uncomfortable. And you were so proud of yourself. We got you to the 1.
It's getting better.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm at 1.
And then the most recent thread of text, you had a period, and that was it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then your mom comes in and like throws 3 little things, and I'm like, come on, Jeannie, let's do this. Don't encourage him.
It's amazing how uncomfortable it is with something so small. And
I'm gonna come visit you and rearrange your countertop.
You need to rearrange everything.
No.
You're not throwing me off.
You would go crazy knowing you're gonna have guests or visitors.
What helps is having, my littlest niece knows I kind of have some issues with symmetry. And so she'll take my water glass and set it like just off center in front. So we have like a tablecloth that has, pretty much perpendicular lines up and down it. And so she'll find one little spot just a little off of it, and she'll set it there and wait to see how long it takes before I correct it. And honestly, that helps. It's something that's cute, and she makes me feel just a tad bit uncomfortable. And I realize, and objectively, I know that some of these things are silly. The 3 emojis started like a long time ago. And I think somebody sent me a text with 3, and I sent it back, and it locked in. And ever since then, I was kind of doing that. And I tried switching it a few times. This is the first time I've been very more successful. So I'm down to 1. I try to leave it out sometimes, and that's getting better too. So eventually the goal is none.
And of course,
leave it a little more professional.
To your best friend here to tell you, and it's making you look stupid.
Oh, it's unprofessional.
The word you chose. You're sending a professional message with little pink daisies in a heart to some CEO of a company, and it's like, Kirk, you need to cut it out. So then you try the dragon or whatever.
That doesn't work.
You want the little pink daisies and a sunshine or something in the middle, and I was like, Kirk, that's not even you.
No. And I even tried different systems. I kept, and by the way, that discomfort is really unpleasant for anyone who's trying something like that. It's
like a bug bite itching and someone telling you not to itch it.
Yes. And it it literally is like a mosquito bite. So if I leave a text without one, the next, the longer it takes, every second that builds. And what I have to do is kind of push myself to not give in, because I want to do it. And of course, when I last long enough, I feel a sensation of success. There are times when I break down and I still do it, just because I have to like function. And I know not everybody has issues with that. I think we all have issues with little things. And especially like habits that we like, that we're used to. Those are one thing that's, besides just discomfort, if you're trying to change a habit, keeping track of like how many times you do it. So for me, just counting out loud, it just makes me mindful of what I'm doing. So if I have a particular habit, like, biting your fingernail, something like that, every time I do it, it's like 1. Just mentally count it. And the first day, you're going to have a lot. The second day, it already starts helping. So change is possible. The biggest issue that I had is that my expectations are that I wanted to make this change and I want it to happen today. And that's not realistic. And it's kind of damaging to the process to have, I'm not saying unrealistic expectations, but to not be patient with yourself. None of us can instantly fix.
What you're trying to do is control everything else that you can't control. And the only things we can control is what we are doing. How we react to certain situations defines our character. What we can control, what we can make happen. We can't control other people or other things around us all the time. We have to adjust and adapt and figure out what to do when things come our way, because we are in control of only ourselves. I mean, even God gave us free will. So we're still only in control of ourselves. So when we mess up, we can't blame anyone else. We did that.
Unfortunately. Right? So I know a lot of times we try.
We have a break coming up. But with this subject matter, we're in control of what we didn't do. And because of anxiety. And the worst thing to live with is regret of what we should have, didn't do, would have, could have, whatever. Just being mindful of stuff instead of accomplishing a little bit at a time. And regretting that we didn't put ourselves there. Like if I didn't come into the studio today, I would have regretted it, and and so forth. Because for weeks I've been experiencing that, and I'm so glad to be here. I get to see Ed.
We're glad you're here.
Speaking of Ed, it's time for a break. Callers, call in 866-826-1340, 866-826-1340. Please call in and say hi. And we're on YouTube live at Moments of Clarity with Tiffany, or at least leave a live comment and say hi. And we'll go to break, and we'll be back with Moments of Clarity with Tiffany in just a moment.
We will return to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner after these messages.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
If you are like most people, you worry with the financial challenges you face today. How do you protect your family from financial ruin? How will you reduce your liabilities and get out of debt sooner? And how can you deal effectively with the constant changes in your job, your career, and your business? Overcoming your financial challenges is like building a house. You must build from the ground up. You must learn how to make more money, save more money, grow your money, and protect your money. Forever Forward Financial specializes in teaching you these 4 basic money skills so you can achieve your dreams and end your worry. Call us today and schedule your complimentary, no-obligation meeting to discuss your needs and concerns. Call Scott Bigley at 727-422-7761.
Hi, this is your host, Tiffany Warner from Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I want to thank you for all your support on ending the stigma on mental health for over the past 7 years and with over 600 episodes, as well as several award nominations and placing as a finalist in 3 categories on the People's Choice Podcast Award last year. If you're listening to this on audio, please visit and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Moments of Clarity with Tiffany and enjoy viewing previous shows in case you miss any live. If you're interested in advertising and would like to promote your company, it is affordable and an effective way to get your company the attention it deserves. I also welcome potential guests as well, and all information can be found on my website at mocwithtiffany.com. Thank you again for your continued support, as change can only come when we stand together as one.
Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. I'd like to give a shout out to musician-songwriter Don Lawson, who wrote, produced, and performed all the vocals and instruments on my Moments of Clarity theme song. Don gained his inspiration as a mental health counselor himself. He's always looking for artists to record his songs, and you can hear more of Don's music at reverbnation.com/Don Lawson. You can also check him out on Twitter at Don Lawson Music. Thank you so much, Don, for your contribution to Moments of Clarity and ending the stigma on mental health. It's awesome.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Now back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health counselor. To engage in the conversation, call 866-826-1340. Here's Tiffany.
Hi, and welcome back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm also your host. You know what's freaking me out is that the radio station has a 7-second delay to my, so I'm hearing myself 7 seconds after.
Yes, and it's really hard with ADHD. I had an echo one time, and we did it, and it's hard to keep track of your thoughts. Discomfort, it'll help.
If I uncover one ear, I can. It's not even just that. It's just I'm wondering if I already said it. It's so weird.
I know.
Wait, it's coming
You're
again.
doing phenomenal. You could never tell. It's impressive.
I can tell. I'm like stuttering because whatever. So call in 866-826-1340. 866-826-1340.
There you go. I was waiting for your jingle. You didn't do it on the way out.
It's always different every time. You're gonna have to do it with me. 866.
What's that?
1340.
Yep, that's close to a commercial. I don't know. That might be copyrighted. It's all a good
Hey, I want to hear from anyone. You want some help with something you're struggling with? Any things that you're anxious and maybe putting off, even though it doesn't make sense to, and you know you're doing it to yourself, or wishing you had someone to just kind of drag you to do that, or something coming up in the future that is worrying you that you would like some guidance on how to handle it.
Those are phenomenal. 826. What was it? Say that one more time. You're on a roll.
Across the bottom. Do it with me. 866.
1340. There you go. See, we got it.
You could be the 1340, and then we don't have to try to synchronize. Come on, you're a violinist. You're a musician. You should be able to.
I know. Should have been more on cue. There's something actually, you mentioned one thing I am dealing with is I'm finishing up a sequel to my fantasy book, and I've been stuck for a while because I'm actually worried that I feel like it's better than the first one, but this is the first time I've had to deal with that kind of anxiety. Usually I just would write something, and it's been interesting. I've been kind of delaying the work, and just like you said, the anxiety builds up, and then of course you don't get something done. That creates more anxiety. You delay it more, and it's kind of a snowball. And that's been actually a little difficult for I think not just myself. A lot of people are struggling getting little things done. And for me, I loved what you mentioned before with the Google Docs. I personally love Post-its. So whenever I'm feeling really anxious, I divide up my tasks into smaller tasks. And the reason it looks like more Post-its.
Little bullet points.
Yeah, and then I can rip them up and, crumple them up, toss them. And it feels like I made progress, even if it's a little tiny amount of progress.
I like highlighting mine so I can still see them. Like, look at what I did before, because
I haven't tried that. I'm going to have to try that.
1 or 2 days, then you got to remember that, I did all that.
Yeah.
So anxiety is a learned behavior, and we can unlearn it. So if we're going to let avoidance and other things get in the way and cause us to build more anxiety, more and more and more, the more we brush stuff under the rug and we don't face and we don't make ourselves uncomfortable, we don't face this anxiety, then it can turn into things such as phobias or compulsions or obsessions or things that we feel like we're failing when we can just take the bull by the horns in the beginning, because we can unlearn it. And there's a little bit of a underlying anxiety that we're born with, a lot of us are, which is fine. But when it starts to get in the way of our everyday way of life and complicating things that we enjoy doing or that we want to do or that just don't make sense, those are things such as exposure therapy. For instance, one of my clients was witnessed a shooting in a mall and where she worked, and it was closed. The bullet went through the window of the store she worked at. She had to escape out the back. It was pretty severe. And after a while, I mean, she didn't work there anymore, but she wanted to go to that mall. And don't worry, any local listeners, this happened in Washington State, not here, but eventually she went to go get takeout from the mall. She slowly started acclimating with me on the phone and actually walked by the store. She was there. It was still taped up. Then eventually walked in and said hi to her, some old coworkers that didn't quit their job. They weren't there that day. So now she's free to roam, and she said, "Thank you so much. I needed to go. I didn't want to have to avoid that because of that situation, because how many times in a lifetime does that happen?"
Oh yeah. Well, and it brings perspective to my little 3 emojis too. I mean, that's a serious, bit of trauma to go through and to face again. And, big or small, comparing never helps. It doesn't matter if somebody is really stressing out about one thing and it seems small to somebody else, it's still a big deal to the person who's
right. Some people are scared of birds, and that you could put a feather in the room and they freak. Just because it doesn't make sense to you doesn't mean that it's not really scary to that person going through that. So we have to acknowledge that fear is different for everyone.
Well, it's also great if you do know what your fears are, or if you do have some things, make sure you learn how to communicate those. A lot of times your friends and family and loved ones, they want to help. Occasionally you'll get somebody who will kind of mess with you a little bit, but they're all there out of love to help you.
I am so scared to do laundry and clean the toilets. I'm scared.
Yeah, those are never fun. So one thing too is when you know yourself, that is probably the best way to kind of calm and deal with some of these things. Knowing yourself and appreciating the person that you are, because those little quirks we have make us special. They're not bad things. Yes, if they start getting in the way of your life, then we have to deal with them. But even then, they're not necessarily bad. They can even help us grow. So, when you're looking at and you always do such a beautiful job of helping people see things from a lot of different perspectives, it helps with bringing stigma down. And we want to be able to.
Right. Yeah. That's what we're doing.
See, we've gotten better at interacting.
I tease you about the emoji thing, and I know how hard it's been for you, because it's been years I've been working on this with you out of love, and because I want you to learn to stop doing it, because it's harming you.
It gets in the way of life.
I know it's a level of comfort for you, but as your friend, I'm telling you, you need to stop. We need to stop. We need to get you to stop doing this. Because I was flat out Kirk, it's just making you look stupid. I'm like, can you pick some different emojis? But then what are you gonna do? I would love that job.
There's so many options.
The option to be an ambassador of this flower, sunshine flower. Come on.
The other issue is that all of the emojis also had to be even. So that was tricky. So I had limited options.
But regardless,
if you hadn't done that,
are inappropriate at times on professional.
If you hadn't pushed, I wouldn't have noticed, I wouldn't have been driven. So a lot of times, our discomfort, or, a lot of times a family member or a loved one, a partner will bring up something and they're truly trying to help. But if it's something we're aware of and we're embarrassed by, and that's why it's important.
Sometimes being embarrassed is what gets rid of it. Because you're like,
kind of act. Yes. Uh-huh. And the key part is just don't let that embarrassment turn into shame. It's okay to kind of embarrassment is kind of like a spectrum. You have like the healthy one that will drive you to change, and then you have the one that makes you hide. And so, when you listen to people and they criticize you on something that you're really like touchy about, try to think about it from as objectively as possible and understand they're trying to help you and they just care. Other people, sometimes they don't. When you have toxic relationships, then of course you want to step away from those. But, take things with a grain of salt. Everybody is so touchy, and it's hard because we're reactive.
A lot of people want constructive criticism from their friends.
No, and often we don't listen.
No, a lot of
need to.
I like it if it's constructive. If it's an insult from a friend, be quick for a comeback. But if it's well intended, So anyway, I got the signal. I get to see Ed with the twos. Here's a 2-minute warning. We have to close up, Kirk. Everyone. So takeaways is try to do one thing for yourself today that you've been avoiding. You'll feel so much better about it, and use some coping skills. Just remember that if you avoid anxiety, it's going to get a hold of you, and it's going to be worse if you don't take it seriously. And some things will not only make you feel better about yourself, but also help you reach your full potential in life, because a lot of anxiety is what's stopping us from doing it. Like finishing your book, Kirk.
Absolutely.
Anyway, thank you so much. I can see the clock. Look, all these things coming back. We'll be back at the studio next Friday, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for listening to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany every Friday, 12 to 1. Kirk Patrick Miller, thank you so much. Follow us on YouTube at Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. You can see all of his social media and everything. I encourage you to look it up and follow him, as well as listen to his podcast. All the information and details are under the show. Kirk, thanks so much. Thank your mom too. Thanks, Ed. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Thanks, everyone, for stopping by. Have a wonderful weekend, and take care.
Now it clicks. Moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it. Moments of clarity. To yourself, be kind. It will please your mind. Hope is following you. Don't abandon yourself. Find your joy. Ask for help. Be your best friend.
WTAN, Clearwater.
FM 106.1.
WDCF, Dade City.
FM 102.3.
WZHR, Zephyrhills.
FM 104.3.
Listen.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Facet Wealth.
I'm Steve Kathan. A possible strike that could have derailed the economy has been prevented with a signature on a newly passed bill.